I've traveled quite a bit in the last couple of months. Zaya and Maurizio may have mentioned that we were in Europe together, in the Middle East, including Turkey and Palestine, as well as Eastern Europe. I was in London. And what is evident is the tremendous need for healing in this world. I mean, everywhere we went, there were just hundreds and, 1,000 people seeking help and also expressing tremendous gratitude for the healing that's available to them. And somebody in South Carolina yesterday asked me this, that the world seemed to be getting so much worse. The wars, the COVID, the economic recession, the burgeoning hostility, division politically, culturally. The rise in overdose deaths in the United States. How it actually works is, but at the same time, you get the phenomena like the response to our work, the response to a book like The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, that's on trauma. It's not an easy read. It's a rather scientific, it's an eloquent read, but it's rather heavy read. It's the #1 New York Times bestseller and has been for years. So what's actually happening, I believe, is that as the crisis of the system deepens, people are also starting to wake up. And in my new book that you'll be hearing about, The Myth of Normal, the point I'm actually making is that, well, not the point that I'm making, the point that keeps asserting itself goes back to ancient Greek times, when this Greek playwright, who I may have quoted before on this program, I don't know, his name was Aeschylus, and he was one of the great Greek dramatists living 2,500 years ago. And in one of his plays, he says that the way that God created us, human beings, that we have to suffer. He repeats it, suffer into truth. That it's repeated suffering that opens our eyes to the truth. Now, there are some people who, due to grace, will have realizations that put them in touch with reality in the spiritual sense or in any sense at all. Einstein he wasn't thinking when he came up with E equals MC squared. It just came to him. Which is the sign that Zaya and Maurizio use for their symbol. He didn't have to suffer. He actually didn't suffer to get to that truth. It came to him. This life-changing formula, this paradigm-shifting formula. But for most of us, to shift our paradigms, we have to suffer. That's just how we are. And may not be fair, but that's just how it is. Fairness has got nothing to do with it. And that means, as I believe I've said before, we can look upon suffering, whatever problems that you bring here today, whatever issues that are irking you, paining you, you can look upon them as problems to get rid of, which is how we tend to approach troubling issues. We can look at them as something trying to wake you up, that something is out of alignment. So the question then becomes not as what's wrong and how do I fix it, but in what way out of alignment? In what way am I out of alignment? In what way is my life out of alignment? But out of alignment with what? Well, out of alignment with your true nature. if you didn't have a true nature, you wouldn't suffer, you know, because you just could be molded into anything. And so what? So the reason we suffer is because there's something in us is screaming that this is not right. This is not the way it's meant to be. This is not who I am. And so suffering is actually your true nature screaming at you. Now, that doesn't make it easy. And when I've suffered and when I've felt down, I sure didn't want to be that way. And I wasn't very graciously thinking, thank you for the teaching. It's very hard to get to that point where we say, thank you for the teaching. But actually, I'm just inviting you, when we talk today, I'm not prescribing it, I'm giving a meditation. That when you come up with whatever questions or issue that you want to bring forth to us, naturally you want help, and whatever extent we can provide it, we will. But even as you're asking your question or formulating your issue, do it from the point of view, what is it that's out of alignment? What is my true nature trying to tell me? What is my true nature begging me to recognize so you can come back to it? Because it wants you to come back to it. It wants you to come back to it. And I believe that's what's happening in the world right now as well. The way we're living this life, this globalized capitalist system, this insane materialism that we're caught up in, there's a real possibility that's screaming at us. This is not the way it's meant to be. This is not the way it's meant to be. So that even as things are getting worse, more and more people are realizing that something is deeply out of alignment, that we have to address it.